Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
Wow, sorry about that. I was muted on the awkward start. My goodness, I don't know how much you heard. Did you hear anything I said, guys? Look, let's just start again anyway. Look, what a crazy ending to the show. Look, John Cena got help, but not in the same way you'd expect. Like, it wasn't The Rock. It wasn't anything like that. It was crazy. So what happens is CM Punk is somewhat getting in control. Then you've got Seth Rollins coming out and his little group. Then all of a sudden, the numbers are kind of sort of evened up by Penta and Sami Zayn. And then after that, John Cena and CM Punk kind of save each other. It looks like Cena's going to turn a corner, turn into a little bit of a good guy again. But again, he proves no, he is a bad guy through and through at the moment. And there's a few nice little callbacks. And we'll touch on this a little bit more later on in the show because we'll go through it match by match in just a moment. But of course, the big story coming out of this show was what we saw in the main event. Some people are going to say it's overbooked. Some people are going to say it's too much. Again, I don't know how much you heard of me saying this already because I had technical issues when we first started the stream. But I felt like it was something for out of the Attitude Era or a video game where a wrestler just kept spawning out of nowhere. But a lot of fun to me. Again, I know some people are going to have issues with it, but to me, I thought it was a really fun way to end the show. Nice little callbacks to what we saw at Elimination Chamber and things like that as well. So yeah, a really enjoyable ending to the show. But it was a good show overall, I thought. I want to know in the comments what you think of the show as well. Let me know if you did enjoy Night of Champions. What were your favorite matches? And what could have been better? Well, of course, we had two kind of title matches. One where a title didn't change hands. One where a title did change hands. We'll touch on that later on. A brand new King of the Ring. A brand new Queen of the Ring as well. So let's get back into the card itself. Again, we have to start with the main event, of course, but we'll get into it in a bit more detail later on to really break it down as well. Casper says John Cena second guessing himself was the fans getting to him. Yeah, it was crazy, wasn't it? When he went for the belt. And then also in the ring as well with the handshake, again, which we will touch on later on because it was a fantastic ending to the show, even if it was a little overbooked. But again, I'm all here for it. It's very, very funny. So get your comments in, guys. Let me know what you thought of each match as we make our way through them. But we are going to start at the very beginning of the show. Of course, it started out with the men's King of the Ring final between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. And now that we know that Cena is still the champion, I think this is a bit clearer as well, because surely it now means Cody Rhodes is going to face John Cena at SummerSlam. And I said it a lot on the build-up show. It's a bit of a kind of shame because it's too obvious, but at the same time, I understand it. It's a marquee match. Surely then, this is where Cena maybe does lose the championship. But hey, that's another conversation for another day. We'll get there eventually. At the moment, though, let's talk about Night of Champions and the stage you're at right now, which, of course, is your brand new King of the Ring, Cody Rhodes, after beating his mentor pretty much in quite a fun back and forth match. Started out very early on with a hurt back spot from Superplex on from Randy Orton, and I thought, oh, this is what's going to happen now. Randy's going to pretend to be hurt. Cody's going to feel sympathy. And Randy's going to take advantage and win. That's literally what I thought was going to happen. It's not what happened. Cody did pick up the victory. But let's go back to the beginning of the match. He had that big spot there. Cody took advantage of it. He pulled Randy Orton's legs and his arms around the post to kind of burn into that back, essentially. Then I think there was an RKO that was hit, but only got a 2. There was a reversed RKO that went into a crossroads that only got a 2. Another RKO that only got a 2. You're going to get a common theme here. This happened quite a bit throughout the night, especially in that main event and in this opening match. There's a big old dive into an RKO, which, you guessed it, only got a 2 count, but was an incredible spot. The referee takes the chair off of Randy Orton, who was kind of toying around with his own conscience here. He decides to take the turnbuckle padding away, and it gets used against him. His ribs go straight into the steel turnbuckle from Cody Rhodes, who takes advantage of it, and then eventually hits Randy Orton with the crossroads and picks up the 3 count to become the new King of the Ring. Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes, picking up the win. It was a good win, I think, for Cody. Again, quite an obvious one in some ways, but still an enjoyable match. And look, it gives room for that possible turn in the future. Again, I still think there's a lot of opportunity in kind of a story with Randy turning heel again and doing it to Cody, and Cody being such a over babyface at the moment, and their kind of built-in story that they've got there. So hopefully they do it. And I was a bit concerned that this was wasting that opportunity. But maybe not. Maybe they can still do it, and they will. But at the moment, it doesn't seem to be the case, unless somehow Randy inserts himself into this match because he feels like he still is owed after, what happened to him at Saturday night's main event a little while back, where he faced John Cena and R-Truth got involved. So maybe it will end up being a triple threat anyway. But as it stands, it looks like it's going to be Cody Rhodes versus John Cena at SummerSlam. Of course, a 2-night SummerSlam this year as well. So quite a big show will be building towards come August. But before that, Saturday night's main event, Evolution. There is so much going on in the WWE, and of course Night of Champions kicked us off into this very, very busy period, I think, in quite a good way, as did the opening match, which was the King of the Ring finals. The next matchup was Raquel Rodriguez facing off against Rhea Ripley. Now, I think this was a really, really enjoyable match, and I think it was a match that really cements Raquel's position. I think I mentioned earlier on the build-up show, I think she's still kind of, there's some spots where you see she's hesitant and they don't quite gel that well. But I thought she worked very, very well in this match and with Rhea Ripley. I thought they were a great kind of team working together in this match, essentially, to put on a great show. Started very early with some big moves. Raquel catching Rhea out of the air, and then you get this kind of powerbomb spot through this weird table that was kind of set up in the corner but by the barrier. Rhea uses the steel steps. She started whacking Raquel with her studded belt. Wade Barrett was commentating, saying how the studs were flying all over the place and things like that. Even if you sit awkwardly on a studded belt, it hurts, by the way. So I can only imagine what that felt like for poor old Raquel. Then things got worse for Raquel because she got hit with a razor's edge and a lovely kind of kick to the face. So it was almost Shining Wizard-esque. I was thinking it was a bit like that, but it wasn't quite. It was just a running kick, essentially, from Rhea Ripley. But a fantastic-looking move. Only gets the 2 count with that, though, as well. Then Roxanne Perez comes out. She tries to attack Rhea. It gets backfired. She gets taken out herself for a little bit. And then there's a beautiful kick to the trash can on the head of Roxanne Perez as Rhea says, welcome to the Judgment Day, apparently. Rhea then gets her head thrown into the steel steps, which fly out of the ring. It was a great little visual. A nice corkscrew splash kick. Gets a kick out, though, on 2 from Raquel Rodriguez. There was a nice Hurricane Runner spot that I wasn't sure if it was a mistake because she didn't pick up enough steam and just stopped there, but I think she was supposed to stop short of the table, but Raquel didn't go through the table. But eventually she did end up going through it via a riptide. No, she came off of the table, I should say, via riptide, gets the 3 count, and yeah, a really, really fun match. I really did enjoy this one. I said earlier on, I was kind of hoping that Raquel would win because I think it would be good for her and a nice little spot for her. But all in all, I was happy with what I saw. I did like the inclusion of Roxanne. I think that's going to be a good thing to do now. They're kind of lucky seeing there's a situation with Liv's come along now where she's injured. They're lucky they can use Roxanne in that sense. Casper says, good match, Rhea versus Raquel, riptide off the table, picking up the win. Yeah, nice little spot to finish off the match there as well. Decent show so far, says Casper. Yeah, at this point, I was really enjoyed it. I mean, overall, I think it was a good show. But as you say, the first 2 matches really did kick it off in quite a positive way as well. Then we actually, before we move into that, I do want to make a note of the gear that Rhea and Raquel were wearing. Look, this is a conversation we've had a million times on this channel already about the women in Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. But I do like that it's a great opportunity for us to see something different as far as their gear goes. I like the fact that they're not just wearing T-shirts anymore and that they are making it part of their character more so. Now, there are still things to be said about should they be covering up in the first place and all that kind of stuff, and should they be kind of, I guess, giving into that if you want to say. But I will say I do like to see how creative they get with it, and I think both of them had fantastic gear, including Rhea, who had her kind of similar kind of to what she usually wears, but she had the little kind of almost clown-like face paint. And then Raquel had like barbed wire all around her, kind of loose barbed wire. It looked like legit barbed wire as well, which it wasn't because it would have hurt her. But yeah, pretty cool. Casper says gear was different, but I didn't have a problem with it. Yeah, I think they both kind of had a great go at basically still making it part of their character and their personality. Again, I know a lot can be said about this sort of thing, but getting the best out of the situation is definitely something that they've done here. Right, let's move on to the next match, which was Karrion Kross versus Sami Zayn. Now, this is one that I was hoping would go a little bit differently, if I'm honest. I was saying on the build-up show, and I was convinced last night by Lucas on the weekend kickoff show, I should say, that Karrion Kross should win in like 3 minutes. He should just batter Sami Zayn and send Sami Zayn on this storyline where he's trying to build himself back up. Now, it was mentioned in the comments earlier on the build-up show that Sami's already lost a fair amount of matches this year, so maybe he doesn't need to lose that much anyway. But I also think he didn't need the win. Now, it didn't make Karrion look weak. I think Karrion still looked really good, but I kind of hoped, as Lucas was mentioning last night, is that he could come out looking like a monster, you know? Because now I do have to fear that this was all just about this match, and there isn't a big plan for Karrion Kross. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that's not the case, but I am a little bit concerned that after all of what we've seen, that this was the payoff and that there's nothing next, and therefore they might get him lost in the shuffle. I was hoping this was the start to a new story, and I'm not quite sure if that is the case, considering it wasn't an easy win for Karrion Kross, or even a win for Karrion Kross. But he looked good. He looked strong in defeat, you know. But this as someone that's lost loads anyway, so or not really been featured anyway. So not 100% sure about the result, but still an enjoyable match. Started off with, as I say, Kross looking pretty believable in his position now. A very back and forth start. A blue thunder bomb that gets a kick out at 2. Kross had a lovely kind of period of mind games throughout this match. Really, he was pretending not to be able to get up when he was, Sammy was trying to lift him up. He was kind of acting like he was dead weight, and then he just jumped out of it, snapped up, hits him with German suplex, starts laughing, hits him with another as well. Really fun seeing that side of what Karrion was doing. He was thrown into the turnbuckle with an exploder though. Didn't quite work out for Sammy there, because quick after that, Karrion Kross was back in control with his version of the sleeper hold, the cross jacket. Did it quite a few times in different kind of scenarios, trash talking and things like that. It really did seem to be kind of playing the mind games to Sami Zayn and taunting him. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, was a quick haluva kick and the 1, 2, 3. That was it. It was over. So in some ways, I think he's still kind of protected because he had a hard fought match against Sami Zayn. He looked good against Sami Zayn, and he lost in a kind of instance, in like a shocking ending. But I'm still not sure about the result, but for what it was, enjoyable for me. Casper says, I really wanted Karrion Kross to win, but Sammy won in the end, but that it was an enjoyable match. I agree with you there, Casper. I think it was a fun match overall. And Acrylic Galaxy is in the house as well, says it was a good show. Glad you enjoyed it, Acrylic. Let me know in the comments what you thought of these matches as we start making our way through the card as well. We are now moving on to the next match on the list. So we had Karrion Kross and Sami Zayn. Next up was the US Championship match. Can you believe it? A title match on Night of Champions. Wow, what do you know? But yes, there was at least 2 championships on the line, if you don't count the King and Queen of the Ring crowns. And the first one was Jacob Fatu defending his US Championship against his cousin, Solo Sikoa. Now, I was saying before we went into this that I felt like Jacob was probably going to win, but I like the idea of some sort of kind of craziness going on and people just showing up, essentially like a new member of the Bloodline or a return. And what do you know? We got both of those essentially, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But an enjoyable match overall, and the winner ended up being Solo Sikoa, which was actually a shock. And my concern was that if Solo lost it like cleanly, it would be bad for him. I think they're slowly rebuilding his character, and that would have been a bit of a detrimental thing. Now all of a sudden, now he's got a rejuvenated stable. I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. US title run, cool. Jacob doesn't need the belt anymore. Suddenly I'm okay with it. Like it's it's funny how things can change when presentation just kind of tweaks here and there. But it did start out really well. I really kind of thought it was funny where Solo and Jacob were facing off. Referee holds up the title as they do. Just literally ducked a little bit forward, straight away, boom, Solo hits Jacob straight across the face, which I thought was quite a funny little spot. Speaking of funny, he kept kind of playing up to his character of kind of just messing with Jacob, doing his taunts and stuff like that. Jacob, speaking of taunts though, did this thing where he pointed up as if he was referring to the Bloodline, and then he just pointed at the camera, and I was like, what does that mean? I mean, about 2 years ago, we would have all been kind of deciphering these things online because they would have been hidden meanings about the Bloodline. And if someone look at the way he looked at him and this is going to happen. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think Jacob Fatu just did the once and did that. I don't know why, but it kind of reminded me of that Money in the Bank we talked about on the build-up show, but I didn't really go into it too much because it wasn't really relevant to the story. But essentially, of course, he helped Solo and he said, I hate you, Solo. But even that, he said it differently. Like he didn't say, you say, I love you, Solo. Like, he didn't do, I hate you, Solo. I think he was just like, Solo, I hate you. And I was just like, oh, okay. Didn't really, cool, but not really, didn't deliver as well. But I don't know, it just kind of reminded me of that. But look, hey, what am I here complaining about silly little kind of orders of catchphrases and how ones point to cameras when really they gave us a fantastic match and a fun US title reign, I got to say, by Jacob Fatu as well. Anyway, as I say, Solo takes control, continues to mimic his cousin Jacob. JC Mateo comes out and distracts Jacob as well, while Tanga Loa comes out, hits a beautiful move on the side of the ring to Jacob. But it doesn't quite cut it, though. Jacob Fatu is not down and out, not completely, at least at this stage. He hits a kind of springboard thing, I think it was, on up to the you know, where he does the handstand, his legs go up. I think he knocked off JC, or it might have been Tanga Loa, I'm not quite sure. Knocks one of them off the side anyway, then dives out onto both of them, kind of twisting in the air. And then Hikuleo comes into WWE for the first time, arrives on the scene. Of course, as Lucas mentioned the other day, a lot of rumors about him joining into WWE and therefore the Bloodline as well. And he helps Solo Sikoa defeat Jacob Fatu and really enforces that bloodline once again. So Hikuleo is here in WWE. And look, I know some people are going to go, what? Again, like, really? Another bloodline? But still, I think it's cool. I like these guys. I want to see what they're going to do next. Yes, the last version of the bloodline kind of dwindles, but this gives us an opportunity to do something else. Maybe even move away from the bloodline name. I know there were rumors about that before as well. Let's get to some of these comments and hear what you guys have to say about this. Acrylic says 6-card PLE. What exactly, Acrylic? I know. We've talked about it for so long, haven't we? How the 5-card thing seems to be a done deal every single month now. They barely move away from it, and if they do, it's to have 4. But my goodness, they gave us 6 matches and 6 really fun matches as well. I really enjoyed this show overall. Casper says, bit gutted that Jacob Fatu losing the belt and the shenanigans at the end of this one. Casper also says, ruined this match for me, but now I'm agreed that Jacob losing didn't need that belt anymore. Also says, Tanga Loa and the new member, Hikuleo, Solo picking up the win for this one. Yeah, a kind of good ending as far as kind of moving on to what's next, right? Because again, I wanted Jacob to keep the title. I thought, oh, he's a good guy. He's really kind of, the fans are really behind him. It's working quite well. But now there's a new story to tell, really. Clearly they're ready for this. So I'm happy for that. And yeah, it's made me feel a lot better about Jacob losing the title. And, gives kind of credit to Solo again. Solo being US champion, I think, is going to be hopefully something that's quite good for him and quite good for his group as well. But that was it for the US championship match. Again, a very enjoyable match as far as I'm concerned. Next up, we moved into the Queen of the Ring final. And this one wasn't really a long one. But it was one that was kind of really unsure about before when we were predicting it. I was saying, Asuka winning kind of would make sense because she's just come back and it'll be not something nice for her career. And I kind of got fooled into that same sort of thing with Randy Orton, really thinking, it'd be nice for him to have that on his CV. But really, the answer was obvious. They were going to push the new person, and that is, of course, Jade Cargill, who looked really strong in this match. A lot of back and forth. It was quite evenly contested. Didn't go on too long, as I say. But in the end, the victor, the new Queen of the Ring, is Jade Cargill. She ended up with a reversal from Asuka's kind of running bump thing, where she just boink into the back, into the chest even, but Jade catches her instead, turns it into Jaded and hits the pin. Slightly rolls over, maybe a little bit too awkwardly. It did make me think, no, not again, not after last year with Randy Orton and Gunther and the shoulders and all that kind of stuff. But thankfully, even if Asuka's shoulder was up, the camera didn't show it. We don't need to see that. It's okay. It's, she kind of just slipped a little far back. It felt maybe a little bit too kind of excited to pick up the victory. But why not? You're about to become Queen of the Ring, right? So, great presentation from both of them. I thought Asuka's looking really strong at the moment to get all the way to the final. Looking cool with her gear, just like we mentioned earlier on in the other women's match. I think these two incorporated the restrictions that they have out there in Saudi Arabia into their gear in a really kind of clever way. Great face paint from Asuka and a great look overall from Jade Cargill as well. Now, Jade Cargill, as I say, picks up the victory and finishes with a nice moment where she gets crowned, but also quite emotionally speaking into the camera as well. Gives a nice motivational speech and says a storm is coming to SummerSlam. In what shape, though, guys? What is happening? Is it Tiffany Stratton? Would Naomi have cashed in already? I found it interesting that on commentary they actually said both of those things. They said, it could be Naomi. And, okay, really? I still feel like the Bianca Belair storyline's got to happen. I still feel like Bianca was in on what happened to Jade. But SummerSlam is where I expected it to be, and it doesn't look like we're going to get there anytime soon. So unless something crazy happens, I mean, we look back to Chamber to WrestleMania, right? Around that kind of period. Remember the women's title on Raw kind of changed hands like really quickly. They made that triple threat, and so it can happen, but at the moment it doesn't look likely. But we do have things like Evolution and Saturday night's main event. So there's certainly a lot of a lot of space for twists and turns at least. Jade Cargill versus Asuka was a fun short match, says Casper. Jade picking up the win, didn't really have a problem with it. Yeah, I mean, me neither, mate. I thought it was a good kind of what am I trying to say? Like a good kind of idea of where they're going. Essentially, it's pretty obvious that they want Jade Cargill to be something in the industry and within this organization. I think she was great in AEW. I think she's been good in WWE as well. She had that tag team title run. Her return was fantastic against Naomi. Storyline was good there. She's fallen a little bit here and there, but overall, I think she's had a good run in WWE, and I think, continue, more, the more it continues, the better, really. I'm actually really enjoying it. I don't know if it's setting up a match I really want to see, where I'm like, man, this is marquee, like Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill. But at the same time, they do feel like similar to Bianca and Rhea, but maybe just too early, if that makes sense. They do feel like they are that next generation, that next, not like Bianca and Rhea, old timers or anything like that. But, you can see that kind of progression. Becky and Bailey, and then Sasha and Charlotte. And then you've got that next generation of, as I say, Bianca and Rhea and Liv and all those kind of people as well. Now we're moving into the next one again, it seems. But not quite sure if it's the marquee match for SummerSlam just yet. But hey, maybe this is where they kind of make, I don't want to say make themselves, because they're both clearly great competitors. They're great performers. One's the Queen of the Ring and one is a champion already, so they'd certainly been made already, but this could be the kind of a defining moment, if you want to take them to that next level. Hopefully a good match at SummerSlam, or again, could be completely different by the time we even get there. But that was it for the Queen of the Ring. Good tournaments overall. I did enjoy both the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring this year. Again, I really enjoyed how they used the bracket this time round, how they used the Fatal 4-Ways in both the men's matches and in the women's matches as well. But that's how it ends up. Cody Rhodes is your king, and Jade Cargill is your queen. Moving on, though, to the main event. And again, we touched on it earlier on in the stream because it was something we had to talk about at least a little bit right before we came on air. But CM Punk versus John Cena was flipping crazy. Just going to get to this comment here from Casper. Says, right now on the crazy shenanigans, main event CM Punk, John Cena. But as you say, great to see a 6-card PLE, as was mentioned earlier on by Acrylic as well. Look, this was a typical main event, really, in some ways. It started out with kind of, slow. It's just normal stuff here and there. Then a million finishes and then a million interferences, right? So let's get into it. Let's go back to the beginning of the match. Started out, of course, with 2 entrances. A great reaction for CM Punk. Loads of signs in the crowd. It was kind of like a CM Punk specific sign, sort of like the El Cesaro section that they used to have and things like that. But a big reaction for CM Punk on his entrance here as well. Looked really cool with that jacket, by the way. Right. As I say, the beginning was kind of like painting them by numbers, right? If you've seen CM Punk and John Cena wrestle before, you know exactly what happened. If you've seen them wrestle against each other, then you can really picture exactly what happened. It was your typical match between the two of them. And that's not me saying it was bad or anything like that. It was just like, again, with a lot of these main events, you're like, all right, we'll wait for the 10-minute mark and things are going to start really picking up at that point as far as the pacing goes. That's exactly what happened. We started to get the big finishes, and my goodness, there were so many of them, so many kickouts. And I know there are problems with this. I mean, it wasn't WrestleMania is one thing, but it's happening a lot at the moment. But again, I can't pretend I didn't enjoy it. It's just like I think you could have done with at least half of them because it was a bit too much. But it started out with a GTS that gets reversed into an STF, which got reversed into an Anaconda Vice. Very nice. Didn't mean to rhyme, but there we do. There we go. Then, not long after that, there was an AA from John Cena. Didn't get his 3 count, did he? He only got a 2. Then it was a bit more reversing. Another AA. What do you know? Only gets a 2. Then he tries to do it on off the top rope, and he fails to hit it. Punk gets out of it, hits him with a crossbody, but that gets reversed into an AA pretty nicely, I might add. Classic stuff here from John Cena. But what do you know? Only gets a 2. Then Cena's getting a bit frustrated now. At this point, he's thinking, I've hit him with 3 AAs. I've tried to hit a few others as well. I'm going to get a little bit dirty. So he looks outside the ring. He sees the championship sitting there on the podium, and you can tell what he's about to do. He goes and picks it up, and he can hear the fans basically encouraging him to put it down. And he gets in the ring, and he's thinking twice, and he's not really sure if he should use it, and he decides not to. Now, this is interesting because we've seen a few things lately where Cena kind of acts a bit like an old Cena, a bit like a babyface, and we saw it maybe more than twice here in this match, but it started quite interestingly with the title. Then later on, it comes with the interferences, and then it happens again with his handshake. But sticking to the one with the title, he decides not to do it, and he got hit with a GTS because of that. And it looked like, oh, maybe this is going to be a pin. Maybe CM Punk is going to win the title after all. Didn't work. Punk ends up doing being quite smart, actually, because again, not only have we seen their matches together, they know exactly how they wrestle as well. And Punk ducks the shoulder tackles. It means the referee gets knocked out. What do you know? This is where I sat up and turned the TV higher because I knew some sort of craziness was about to go down. Burn it down. Seth Rollins, his music hits. He comes out with Braun, Heyman, and Bronson, and they make their way to the ring. And at this point, my mind is racing. I'm thinking, what's he doing? Is he cashing in? Is he just distracting Punk? Is he making it a triple threat to cash in? Kind of nearly got all of that, but Rollins gets into the ring. No, he sends his kind of heavies essentially into the ring. They go after CM Punk straight away. He's kind of defenseless. He's just on his own at this point. But I think he did like a dive over the top rope and kind of overshot it, if I remember correctly. Then he's awkwardly slammed into the announce table, which looked like it really flipping hurt. Like they didn't seem like they got him up high enough and slammed him down in an awkward kind of timing. Maybe I'm wrong, but just from watching it one time, I just felt it was really kind of uncomfortable to look at. But yeah, that's what happened. Goes for the table anyway. And then Seth Rollins starts calling out for a ref. And I wasn't even thinking that at this point it was to cash in anymore. I was just thinking, he just was the ref because he wants Punk to lose and that'll be it. But no, Charles Robinson running down the ring, kind of like the old meme of his. This could be a new one, by the way. Cena, flies out of nowhere, just takes the poor man out. What the heck? Poor Charles Robinson, little Nate, she didn't deserve that, but God, he flew. So Cena takes him out. And it really kind of reminded me of Money in the Bank 2011, when they tried to Laurinaitis and McMahon, they ran around the thing. They tried to kind of do the whole ring the bell, like the screw job, and Cena stopped it. And because he stopped it, he got back in the ring and Punk took advantage. So it kind of reminded me of that, as did some of the other spots earlier on where, Cena's being a good guy almost could have cost him the title. And now, especially as a bad guy, that would have been quite ironic. At least back then he was too good for his own good, or whatever it might have been. Now, again, that's not what happens because it does continue. It gets crazier and crazier. Cena stops the ref and stops Seth Rollins, and then the heavies start taking over again. But it's okay because Penta's here. Penta starts strutting his way to the ring as John Cena's something laying on the floor. I can't even quite remember what was going on there. But he's strutting his way to the ring, which did remind me of that clip of, remember when Jeff Hardy showed up in AEW to help Matt? And he's all the way down the ramp. But again, that was to help his own brother. Penta doesn't really care about helping John Cena, I don't think. So he starts making his way out. He's got an issue, of course, with Seth Stable, which, as Lucas said, still doesn't have a name yet, which is kind of frustrating because saying Seth Stable all the time is kind of annoying. But anyway, Penta makes his way down, but he gets taken out quite quickly by Bronson Reed. But it's okay because Sami Zayn is out here as well. He starts fighting. No, it wasn't Bronson Reed. It was Bron Breakker. They started fighting on the outside. You can see Penta's setting up, and he dives on the top of them off of the ramp as well. It seemed really strange, Penta and Sami getting in on this storyline. I mean, Sami's been linked a little bit, but Penta to be involved in a Cena Punk match seems to kind of really make it feel like, people are just showing up now. But I get it's because he's in a feud with Seth Stable, again, no name. But yeah, they come out to try and even the odds against Sami and Penta, and then eventually Punk starts to get to his feet. He pushes Reed, into, I believe, John Cena, who gets him, into an AA. Incredible, really trying to, lift him up. Great. I mean, we've seen Cena do stuff like that before with his strength, but to do it at this stage of his career was really impressive to someone as big as Bronson Reed as well. Really, really cool. Here's the AA on Reed, and then there's this really strange moment where they're in the middle of a match, but they are kind of, it's like they're on their own. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not a title match, and they have respect for each other. They're looking at each other, and Punk slowly, his arm starts going forward, and I'm thinking, they're doing a handshake spot. They really are. Anyway, Punk puts his hand forward, John Cena shakes it, and as soon as he grabbed it, I thought, nah, this ain't, this ain't it. Like, it could have been Punk turning. It could have been not turning, taking advantage, but no. Cena pulls him in, and the look down the camera, just like we saw at Elimination Chamber with The Rock, at The Rock, but this time at the camera. It was amazing. I loved the callback. It was so well executed. And then what do you know? He comes out of it, goes to kick him in the balls, but Punk thinks, no, I saw what you did. I ain't let you do that again. Boom! Grabs his leg, and then it looks like Punk might actually do it here. It looks like he's going to hit him with the AA, with the GTS, I should say. But to ruin the party for CM Punk once again is Seth freaking Rollins with the briefcase into the head. And what do you know? John Cena takes advantage and picks up the victory. My goodness, I feel out of breath just talking about it. Can you imagine being in the main event? There was so much going on. Man, let's get to some of these comments. Casper says, a little bit of a back to babyface turn there for John Cena, but Seth Rollins showing up and both working together with CM Punk and John Cena was crazy. Casper also says Seth was heaving, not cashing in the Money in the Bank shenanigans, crazy shenanigans. Yeah, it was a wild ending to the show. But again, one that was just really, really fun. I did enjoy it. I know, as I said at the start of the show, some people will think it was overbooked, so therefore it's bad. I don't think that makes it bad. I think it was fun. Yeah, did he fit better at places like WrestleMania? But even there, it's becoming a bit overdone now. But I can't pretend I wasn't entertained. You know what I mean? I did enjoy it. So, yeah, there were times where I started to believe that Punk was going to win the title, and I felt like I was back in 2011 again. And I was like, yeah, this is so cool. But I'm okay with what happened. I'm all right that Cena's kept it. I think it probably is the wrong time for him to lose it anyway. And it probably will be SummerSlam now against Cody Rhodes. So we'll have to see when we get there. But that does bring us to the end of the show. What are your thoughts overall, guys? Let me know in the comments whether you're watching live or on demand. What did you think of Night of Champions overall? I thought it was a really fun show. As we've mentioned a few times already, to have 6 matches was quite a treat, I guess. A shame to only have 2 championship matches on a show called Night of Champions, but again, the King of the Ring and the Queen of the Ring was good as well. A nice little addition to the show, even if they can't figure out what they want to name the show or how they want to, brand and promote it and kind of theme it. It was still a fun show overall. And even the non-title matches that, again, I kind of wish were on different PLEs, they were still really entertaining. Karrion Kross versus Sami Zayn didn't quite give me the result I wanted, but still made Kross look good. And nice kind of babyface pops and stuff for Sami, as you would expect in Saudi Arabia these days as well. And the other one, Raquel versus Rhea, again, was really, really entertaining as well. Casper says a fun show and gives it 8 out of 10. Yeah, I think I'd probably give it something around that as well, man. I really did enjoy what they did here. Like, again, every level of the card, whether it's a title match, whether it was, tournament finals, or the non-title matches. Yeah, really enjoyable. I think everybody delivered on this show. I wouldn't say anybody kind of phoned it in or anything like that. And yeah, we got some big stories. We got Hikuleo who debuted in WWE now. We've got Tanga Loa is back on the main roster, having come back from injury. And then we got some craziness at the end of the show as well to really kind of make us all wonder what the heck's happening next and where's Punk going to go from here and what does Cena do now and what about Cody Rhodes? And, again, there's so much going on in WWE and they've loads of big shows to kind of get us excited for as well, with again Evolution coming up Saturday night's main event, and then of course we're going to have SummerSlam, a 2-night spectacular this year as well. So yeah, really fun evening to watch wrestling. Good to see Karrion Kross wrestle for a change, says Casper. Yeah, 100% agree with you there, buddy. Really good to see him not only wrestle, but also get a good showing as well. I mean, I wanted a 3-minute match, but not because I didn't want to see a lot of him, but because I wanted him to look strong. But in return, we got a long match where he looked good anyway. So yeah, quite fun there as well. But that does bring us towards the end of the show, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you to everyone that joined us over the weekend. Of course, starting out with our weekend kickoff show last night. Thank you to everyone that joined us for that, and of course, everybody that joined us on the build-up show earlier on tonight as well. If you're new around here, essentially what we do on the night of a PLE is get you hyped up and in the mood as well as ourselves by taking you all the way up to the PLE itself with all the latest rumors and kind of stories flying around the internet, and of course talking about the go home shows and the recent storyline developments, as well as predicting the PLE as well. But the PLE is in the books now. Of course, Night of Champions out of Riyadh is over. This has been your instant reaction review. Thank you so much for joining me. Apologies again for the technical difficulties at the very start of the show. I feel like I said some of my best stuff in those first 3-4 minutes as well, so sorry about that. But thank you so much for staying with us, for tuning in again, whether it's live or on demand. We appreciate you, and we will be back for some more content very soon. I know we haven't had too much going on with the channel lately. Unfortunately, just after we hit the milestone of 1,000 subscribers, schedules just went all over the place for many of us in the Rebellious Noise team, so we wasn't able to cover Money in the Bank like we wanted to, or Backlash even as much as we wanted to as well. But we are back in full effect now, leading towards Saturday night's main event, and of course, as I say, Evolution and then SummerSlam. It's going to be a big party this summer, maybe the biggest yet, seeing as there's 2 nights as well. Good night, says Casper, and good night from me as well, everybody, or maybe good morning. I know this show's on at crazy hours for people around the world. Either way, wherever you are, thank you so much for tuning in. I've been Scott. This is the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. Check out more of our content, including interviews with WWE superstars, podcasts on historical topics, and watch along experiences. But for now, I'm just going to say thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.